thank you so much for joining us. We're delighted to see you all here. Tonight's program, Artist and Muse Rodin's Playlist, features music which was a part of Rodin's time. A lot of composers whom he would have encountered in Paris and in France, as well as composers whose work may have inspired some of his work as well. We thought of it as his imaginary playlist, if you will, all drawing upon how artists are influenced by everything around them. And of course, when we think back to artists of Rodin's time, they were really having collectives and discussions to learn more about what everyone was doing. It was a little less of the YouTube day, I would guess. And so we hope that you'll enjoy this lively collection of music which inspired Rodin, and even a piece which Rodin himself inspired, and you'll hear more about that later. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy our first piece, two ballads by Guillaume de Machaut, arranged by my very own, Ari Streisfeld.
See So those were two ballads that I arranged by music by Guillaume de Machaut. Those of you who don't know that name, Machaut was a French composer from the 14th century, sorry. He lived from about 1300 to 1377 or so. Pretty long time, pretty long life for those times. And what's really interesting about Machaut is that we actually have all his published works, because he oversaw the publication of his works in his life, which was very rare at that time. We have many works by medieval composers, and most of them we have no idea who wrote them. But Machaut, we pretty much have everything. And so these are two ballads that he wrote. He also wrote the words, but I'm going to move on. So tonight's program is all about what maybe inspired Rodin. And of course, one piece that you'll hear later that was actually inspired by Rodin. So Rodin, of course, in his sculptures was looking back towards antiquity, towards what the great sculptors of the past and what some of the great sculptors of previous generations to inspire his own art. And so we felt, why don't we start with basically as far back as we can go in Western art music, the medieval period. We don't have much before that. But now we're going to jump about 500 years in the future to the Baroque period, which Rodin was certainly inspired by. After a visit to Italy, he said he was very inspired by the works of Michelangelo and Donatello. And so I will now be playing you two movements of the G minor solo sonata by Johann Sebastian Bach. So I'd like to say just a couple words about why I chose these particular movements, in particular the second movement on the program, the fugue. So those of you who don't know how a fugue is written, essentially you have a subject. Sometimes it can be lengthy. Most times it's very short. In this case, it's extremely short, about 7 notes or so. And then the entire piece is constructed on just that subject. And what's amazing about what Bach did with his subjects is that while the fugue itself is kind of an academic exercise, it's like, oh, here's my subject. There's very strict rules about how you treat the subject, what you do with the subject. You can flip it around, you can turn it upside down, and all sorts of things to it, but it's very kind of specific what you can do. But Bach was able to kind of transcend that. And I like to kind of see that as what a great sculptress can do with a block of marble or a hunk of clay. What we see as nothing, they see this incredible art out of basically nothing. And so that's essentially what Bach did in the fugue you will hear tonight. And it'll be preceded by the opening movement, the Adagio, which is basically just a prequel to the fugue.
Claire Bryant. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm so happy to join my friends, Ari and Rachel, and my colleagues from U of SC. And I'm thrilled to play this piece for you tonight. Let me tell you a little bit about the composer, Andy Akiho. He is from South Carolina. He is from Columbia, South Carolina. So this is actually really a small world. He graduated from USC, and he has had an incredible career as a percussionist and a composer. And he is nominated for a 2022 Grammy this year, so be sure to tune in for that. But Andy does a lot of fantastic music, and my student, Ellis, who is here tonight, just raise your hand, we're all friends here. I have several students here tonight, and I just am so proud that they are always wanting to learn new music and wedding. And so Ellis brought this piece to me, and we were working on it, and I knew that I was going to be playing this concert, paired with the Rodin exhibit, and then we were just working along, and then we read the program note, and it is directly inspired by Three Shades, which is here tonight, and for the rest of the tour of the Rodin. So I was like, I have to learn this immediately, and so here we are. And I got chills when I walked into the exhibit today because it kind of feels serendipitous that this all came together. These Three Shades are it's one cast figure that is put together in three, it's the same cast. I'm not a big sculpture buff, so excuse me here. But the idea is that it's ghosts, souls, or shadows of the dead to stand atop the massive gates of hell. It is comprised of three casts of the same figure. And from atop of the gates of hell, the three left arms of the shades would point down to the gates, a swirling mass of unhappy souls who preceded them into hell, where they too were about to go. So in Dante's poem, The Inferno, on which the doors are based, the shades point to a message on the gates. Abandon hope, all you who enter here. This sculpture is the only portion from the earliest design of the gates of hell whose location never changed. So Andy actually took this inspiration and musically, sonically brought it to life. And you're going to hear acoustic cello, and there's digital playback, and of actual cello sounds, and three different cello parts. So his inspiration was that if you go and experience the Three Shades, that you can get a different perspective as you walk around each figure. And that's pretty cool. And you're going to hear that there's a panning of the audio. So you're going to almost feel like there are three cellists on stage alongside of me. That's why it's also entitled Four Shadows, so that the cello parts in the track sort of mimic my part, and we're sort of having this interplay. So it's really, really fun, and this is first time out. The other cool thing is that it is for prepared cello. So if you can see, I had these little tiny clothespins, which, let me tell you, I've taken some trips to Michael's, because these things like to pop off, and it could happen tonight. I tried to handpick the ones that maybe wouldn't pop off, but it sounds like this. Which actually is sort of like a tuned gong. So Andy found this sound and he really rolled with it. So I'll stop talking now, but I want to thank Drew and Wilson and Ari and Jeff Francis at USC, because I am no techie and this took a lot of effort today. So thank you all so much, and here is Three Shades, Four Shadows by Andy Akiho.
Thank you, Claire. I'll just tell you a little bit about our next group of songs by Reynaldo Hahn. Interestingly, a Venezuelan-born composer who lived most of his life in France. He was born about 30 years after Rodin, lived about 30 years past him, and certainly they ran in the same circles. Hahn is one of these interesting composers who is very well known by singers because he's most famous for his beautiful songs, and not very well known by instrumentalists, I think it's fair to say, for those of you in the audience. But he was quite prolific and very successful, and lived a really rich life as a composer, as a conductor, very active in opera, including, classical operas by Mozart and so forth. So I hope you enjoy these four songs. This is really very special because these songs are not originally written for voice with cello and violin, but we've made these arrangements, and I dare to say this is the world premiere of four songs by Reynaldo Hahn for mezzo-soprano, violin, and cello. So we're all lucky to experience them together, and I hope you enjoy them very much. Thank you.
Célèbre Signor
The next piece of the program is on. Is the Ravel Sonata for violin and cello. Ravel definitely was alive during Rodin's time. They definitely ran in similar artistic circles in Paris. It's likely they met each other at some point. Rodin was definitely a lover of music. I don't know that for a fact, but I'd like to think that they did. The piece you're about to hear was actually written just a few years after Rodin passed away, so he would not have had a chance to hear it. But I'd like to kind of imagine this entire program, as my wife said earlier tonight, as being kind of Rodin's playlist, as if he's in his studio making his art and he's got his iPod. Well, that's really cool. Wow. Maybe he's got Spotify on shuffle or something. And of course, it knows what he likes, and so these pieces come on, including the Akiho. I would think that would come on too. So here's the Sonata for Violin and Cello by Ravel. Claire is going to say a few words about the piece.
Thank you. Like many great artists, Ravel takes one small, tiny idea and really runs with it. So right at the beginning, you're going to hear this motif, this idea. Ari, would you play it for us? And that just cycles over and over again. And literally throughout the piece, he plays with this. He turns it upside down. He changes the texture of it, as maybe a sculptor might. But it's really an earworm that you can sort of follow throughout the piece. Just this little, 5-6 note motive that carries us through the 4 movements of Ravel's Sonata for Cello and actually violin and cello. Sorry, excuse me. Thank you so much for coming. We do have a piece after this. I'm so sorry
One
about
more.
that. One more after this.
piece for you tonight. I just want to say that the CMA has been a very special place to be and to Ari since we moved here. All three of us moved here from New York City. Ari and I about 6 years ago now. Claire a little bit less, so it's a homecoming for her through her home state. And when we first moved here, I was like, wow, we've got to perform at that museum. And someone said, yeah, you do. And we reached out to Joelle and we performed our first concert, I think, in Columbia here. And then time went on and we were very lucky to come back with other treasured friends and colleagues. And most poignantly, last winter, when we hadn't performed at all in so long due to the shutdown and COVID. Joelle and then my dear friend now Wilson and Drew helped us create a curated virtual concert here in the galleries amongst the art, and it would have been a really special moment regardless, but after having spent so long not performing, not making music, not sharing what we do, it really was very special. This program is called Artist and Muse, and I dare say for people like us, it is spaces like this and folks like these who are the muse to us, so that we can feel inspired to create, to share, to learn new repertoire, to reinvent old repertoire. And that's really the reason that we do what we do. So I just want to say a very hearty thank you to Joelle, Drew, Wilson, and everyone else here at the museum and the donors who make it possible for us to come here. It's really a very special place to us, and I thank you all. Please enjoy Massenet's Elegy. Thank you.